Optimum and Starlink, two internet giants, but only one truly delivers for your home in 2025. On one side, Optimum, powering the Northeast with cable and fiber. On the other, Starlink, beaming high-speed satellite internet from space anywhere you need. Let's skip the marketing talk and get into what actually matters. We'll break down the key categories, award points, and show you exactly who takes the crown. The winner might surprise you, especially depending on where you live. All right, let's lay out what we're going to look at. Here's the roadmap: price and fees, speed and performance, coverage and availability, customer service, and reliability and uptime. Kind of like a mind map in my head. Boom, boom, boom. Because honestly, there are some pretty spicy differences in each category. Okay, first up, price and fees. Starting with Optimum. So if you're in one of those wired regions, you can actually score plans from as low as like $40 to $60 a month. Sometimes even cheaper if you bundle with other services. Now, hold on, sounds sweet, but they get kind of sneaky with pricing. After that first year, those promo rates, poof, gone. Plus, hidden fees pop up, and sometimes you're renting their modem for an extra charge. But moving on to Starlink, it's way simpler. You pay a big chunk up front for the hardware, about $600 for the dish and router, then a flat monthly rate, usually around $120. It looks expensive next to Optimum, but at least you know what you're paying every time, and they don't do that weird price jump thing. So, honestly, for most of us hunting for deals, Optimum slides ahead on price, as long as you keep an eye out for those gotchas. Now, speed and performance. Optimum, when you can get their fiber, gives you up to 940 megs up and down. That's like full-on gigabit for streaming, gaming, whatever. Super fast. Most people in cities or burbs won't really notice major dips, unless you're in a spot with old cable or it's super congested. Sometimes summer or peak nights cause slowdowns, especially in busy places like the Hamptons. But for fiber users, that's rare. On the other hand, Starlink is surprisingly speedy for satellite, anywhere from like 45 to 280 megs down. And the latency? It's legit. Way better than old school satellite. Most people get over 100, and sometimes more if you're lucky. But you might see more variability, especially at busy times. And it's not really in gigabit territory. So yeah, Optimum takes this round. The fiber speeds are next level, but Starlink's no slouch for rural setups. All right, coverage and availability is where things get interesting. Optimum is super strong in the Northeast cities and nearby burbs. If you're in their footprint, chances are you're set. But no wired cable? No Optimum. Some spots, like outer towns or new builds, nada. Kind of frustrating, honestly. But Starlink? Oh, here's something cool. It'll work anywhere you can plop down the dish and see the sky. Farms, RVs, random islands, literally anywhere. No cable trenches, no franchise drama. Even if you're mid-road trip or in a cabin in the woods, Starlink just works. Well, as long as the sky's clear. So for pure reach, Starlink totally wins here. Oh, and did you know? Starlink satellites zip around just 550 kilometers above the Earth. That's crazy low compared to traditional satellites, making connections way faster. Meanwhile, Optimum is still relying on cables, some of which have been hanging on poles or buried for like decades. Total throwback. Let's chat customer service. Optimum does have local stores and live support lines, which feels nice and normal. But according to tons of folks online, and I've dealt with this too, the support can be frustrating. Long waits and not always super helpful. Seems like every year there's a new complaint about surprise fees or calls going nowhere. Now with Starlink, it's all online, mostly app-driven. The setup is DIY, but honestly, pretty slick. The app walks you through everything. Problems? Well, you're messaging through the app, not some call center, and things are solved remotely more than not. So, if you hate talking to people on the phone, that's a plus. Still, no option for brick-and-mortar help or phone calls. Starlink wins for simplicity, especially for folks who prefer to fix stuff themselves. Now, reliability and uptime. Optimum's best is on their fiber, but cable users can get hit with outages, especially in spots with old infrastructure or places that just get hammered in summer. Shout out to the Hamptons. It goes down more than you'd hope for a utility. Starlink, meanwhile? Its dish doesn't care if your neighborhood loses power. As long as you've got electricity for the router, it's good. Pretty awesome for backup or if your grid is sketchy. Stuff like storms or snow can mess with the signal, sure, and you do need a clear sky. But honestly, for keeping you online even when the ground stuff is broken, Starlink wins here. If we stick all the numbers and quirks onto a chart, Optimum finds its groove with price and raw speed, especially in the city. But as you go rural, Starlink just steamrolls through coverage and keeps the uptime rock solid. Kind of wild how they swap strengths depending on where you are. So here's my take. If you're in Optimum territory, and especially if fiber's an option, they just make sense for price and crazy fast speeds. But if you're off the beaten path, traveling, or your cable is unreliable, Starlink is like the answer. Suddenly, you've got solid internet almost anywhere you want. Pick the one that fits where you actually live or roam. Want to see more comparisons like this? Drop a follow, hit that subscribe button, whatever you do, because I've got plenty more wild matchups coming